Welcome back to Ferocious Education, this is Zed. Today we're going to be talking about Atossa Therapeutics. Now I did talk about Atossa before, but today I got a lot of requests to talk about this one, so we're going to try to bring back pieces of the puzzle for this one in terms of the due diligence, then followed by technical analysis and anything recent that we can find out. So without further ado, let's jump right into this one. So Atossa Therapeutics. So this one here, last video is in the description below again. It took a bit of a dive today, almost around 93%, somewhere earlier today, and not sure exactly in terms of after hours the percentage, but you get the point. It dropped almost 20%. And there's a lot of question to why. Because if we were to go towards news, we don't have much news. Here I'm just refreshing just in case. The last one is on the 7th of July. So what is going on? So first off, I suspected perhaps it could be somehow a short selling report or something of that matter. And I did go ahead and take a look into seeing on Twitter, on different social medias, and I could not find a short selling report. So the only indication that is coming to mind is options expiring on the 16th of July today in manipulations to make these perhaps puts, options to perhaps bringing some more money to whoever's manipulating them. So that is currently my theory. Others are thinking it's just a short selling attack. So let's investigate a little. So in terms of a short selling attack, the current short flow is sitting at 17%, which is still incredibly high compared to a lot of companies that usually average between 5 to 10%. In terms of a short interest, today, currently, there's around 2 million shares available for short selling. And as well, the current short borrow rate is around 3.61%, meaning that if you were to borrow these shares in order to short sell them, the interest on them is very cheap. It's 361. I've seen some that go up to 100%. So it's quite interesting. In terms of the current volumes of short volumes per day, you get to see that they usually vary anywhere between around, let's say, 20-ish, mid-20-ish percent to around 30%. So we can suspect that the short interest is probably going to be higher today, relating towards probably around 30%. Now, as we dropped below 10% today, something called the short sell rule is triggered for today and the next business days, be it Monday. And so for this one here, the short sell rule basically restricts short selling in this way, that the shorts could only be placed at the price above the most recent trade. In other words, the uptick in the share's price. With only limited exceptions, the rule forbade trading shorts on a downward tick in share price. The rule is also known as an uptick rule or the plus tick rule and the tick test rule. So keep that in mind because currently the short sell rule is in effect and it is for the next business day. Now before moving on, if you would like to see more contents like this, make sure to drop a subscribe and turn on the notification button to this channel. Don't forget as well to drop a like to this video if you've enjoyed this one so far. If you'd like to chat a bit more, whether it's Atossa or other stocks, you'll find that the link to the server is in the description below. Totally free, and we're not trying to upsell you on anything on there. Now in terms of SEC filings, we get to see that there are no recent SEC filings that have been submitted or published. And that is the case for the last few weeks or so. Unless of course we covered one before, so you'll find that in my previous video. In terms of institutional buyers, however, what we get to see on this one is that Global Retirement Partners added a call position yesterday on the 15th of July. Before that, IFP advisors appeared to add some shares. It's not disclosed how much, but in general, there are not a lot of different companies that have calls or buys or even puts. Now, in terms of recent changes or the recent puts that we have, there's one to keep an eye on. Citadel advisors have put positions into this one. So that could be the corporate and who's manipulating him to make sure these calls or puts actually bring in more money, depending on how they're strategizing it. So another one here is Jane Street, although I really doubt that either off Citadel or Schist, or actually Jane Street added a position on the 18th, but Citadel decreased their position a little. So it could be that that put itself is to lower down their exposure for the stock, and they probably sold later on. I'm not exactly sure, but Citadel is one to look for. Another one is Savvy Management having a put, but that is as well back to make sure to hedge their positions in this one. They could have sold though and put puts and manipulated it down towards making sure their puts become profitable. So that is something to look at. Let's move on towards technical analysis. Now, from a technical analysis perspective, on the 1 month, 1 day perspective, well, we get to see that today's move itself has really dropped into the majority of the moving averages. As you get to see here, that the 10 SMA and the 30 EMA are currently touching, which is a very dangerous point on a technical analysis perspective, and the price point dropped below the 50 SMA at the 474 level, making it bearish. The only bullish thing on the moving averages is that it's above the 200 SMA at the 267. In terms of the 80X, you're sitting at 34 almost there. It really is just showing a retraction from the 980 into what seems to be almost like a negative sideways trend. In terms of the willing percentile, it's highly oversold, which means in an equilibrium situation, you're going to have more buyers coming in. More buyers in a supply and demand situation, it means a raise in price. In terms of the MACD, it attempts, or at least the stock did attempt, to go on a reversal back on the 15th of July. And it looked like it, starting on the day, it did get rejected, and it just slipped from there on into what seems to be a continuation of a negative trend, and momentum seems to be negative at negative 2.72. Now, in terms of stochastic fast and stochastic slow, both are suggesting that this might actually be the bottom, but it hasn't accumulated yet, and it's not safe to get in. In terms of the moving averages, and for this one here, we're going to take a look into the Bollinger Bands, which is again a moving average based on momentum and volume. It's expecting that this one trades at 842 in the top and in the bottom of 418. The moving average itself that did play in effect for the last 2 weeks expects this one to trade at 693 in the top, 630 in the middle, and 567 in the bottom. As you get to see, the stock currently is almost touching the bottom of the Bollinger Band, so you can either expect for it to continue to drop and bring down a little bit of the Bollinger Bands, as you get to see here, or similar to here as well, or just bounce back after a couple of days of accumulation. In terms of the Fibonacci retracements, and the reason why I like this one is because high frequency traders use it, and also people who usually manipulate stocks understand that these are some key metrics. It's not a coincidence that it did bounce above the 425 level today. And so for the supports on this one, on the Fibonacci retracements, is 425 followed by 293 followed by 81 cents. Resistances are 531, 636, 787, and 980. In terms of a price line action, you're seeing a very strong support at this one at 435. Below that, 397. Below that, 343. Going down to 298, and a very critical one at the 227 to the 201 level. Significant resistances. First off is 503. Above there, 563. Above there, you're seeing around 607. And then going up to 678. Going up to 722, and then up to 794 and 859. Now, in terms of analyst recommendations, the last one was 10 days ago. They had a price target of $7. They initiated a buy, and this person's success rate is 36%, although they have an average return of around 29%. Now, later on as well, you get to see that last month, this person reiterated a buy recommendation, and this person's success rate is 59% with an average return of 16%, and they gave it a price target of $8. Comes to the question, Ed, what do you think about this one? So from my understanding, my opinion relating to this one is coming in towards the options part. If you were to look into the options, probably what's happening relating to this one, is specifically towards the options, is that the 16th of July options on the put seems to have gone up the roof when you're looking up at a significant value, let's say around the 450. Well, currently it's actually expired, but it did go around 30 cents. And if you're going ones that are a little bit around, let's say $5, they were out of reach earlier, 0.05, they multiplied their money to around 0.55. If you were to go around $6, take a look up to those. They really multiplied over. And what I'm thinking, it could be easily manipulation in stock that really brought these profits for people who held these puts. And it could be an institution as well. It might be really interesting to see who bought in the last few days to see if there was actually true manipulation towards this one just to meet around July 16th, or it's just all speculations. Now, before moving on, coming in towards where this key metric point into, let's say, the more of the floor, if it does break it, let it go. I'd probably say it's around the 398. A really hard ceiling to break would be around the 512. Now comes to the question to Ed, what do you think about this one? Currently, this is very similar to a heads and shoulder pattern, which is a negative or bearish pattern, so be careful onto that. My understanding towards this one is that it does have a potential of bouncing back, really needs a PR, but if we don't get that, it might actually continue to drift until it accumulates closer to around the 390-ish levels. And if it does so, I still think that this company has a lot of potential. We went on last time, we looked into that. But I really think that this might be a bit of an accumulation waiting to happen, or even a quick bounce back closer to around the 390s. What do you think about this ticker? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day. Now, if you're still here on this video, make sure to drop down below and join our Discord. We have a lot of different things going on, including, for instance, members that gives picks for free. It's not pump and dumps, we just things we think about, swings, etc. We also have really exciting bots. You can actually use those ones. For instance, we're just testing out this bot, for instance, that gives you Fibonacci resistance points, activities, etc. And we have a bunch of free things, totally free. We run on tips here, and you can ask me questions, suggest stocks, etc. It's a really nice community that has been growing up very fast at a very good rate, and it's totally free. If you would like to join that one, feel free to do so in the description below, and have a wonderful day.